What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Daniel Cormier. That is Chael Sonnen. Chael P, what's up, my guy? How you doing, man?
What is that? You know, when you ask me that, is that like a start to a show? Or do you really want to know how things are going over here at the Sonnen house? Because I had a bit of an evening. My son got invited to his first party. We go to the party, then he and I do what's called hot tub time. Now, hot tub time is a secret between the boys. You never have to say it's a secret. If it happens in the hot tub, it just is. He and the boys spent an evening playing something. They went to a football game. So now they got all their classmates. They played something called smash or grab. Smash or pass. That's what it's called. Oh. So they're paying smash or pass. I don't know the rules to that, but I think that I do. Like, I feel like I have a good idea. But one thing my son was really surprised about is his other friend, Landon, who was like a cooler and had been to more parties. He smashed everybody. And my son's at the end of it. He's like, I just don't know what these people did wrong. I don't know why he wants to smash them, Dad. I have no idea what these girls did. Like, yeah, man, I don't know that Landon guy, but that is how I am doing, Daniel.
Okay. Chill.
Daniel, Daniel, hold on. I don't think you get it. Smash,
no,
it doesn't mean.
I know what it is.
It doesn't. You know what? Let's move on.
Chill. It is, I want to know what's going on, and it's always great to hear the stories. But hey man, what's up? One guy goes, the sky? Yeah. No man, it just means hello. Chill, sometimes it just means
it's just a greeting.
Yes,
it's a friendly greeting.
Yeah, sometimes.
Here we are. You know, we're breaking the ice. It's one of those things.
Yeah, just one of those things. So, Chael, talk about breaking the ice, right? There was this concern and this worry about Francis Ngannou that he would not be prepared to fight after the tragedy that went on in his life and the time away from mixed martial arts and everything else. And it was, you could almost feel this tension in the air, especially for a guy like me, right, who's a friend, who we think of Francis and we hold him in high regard. You don't know what he's going to look like. He's in the back with Cristiano Ronaldo. It's star-studded. They're in Saudi Arabia. He goes out there, and not only does he win the fight, which we won't talk about, we're going to talk about what's next, but he restarts the conversation. He went from being knocked out by Anthony Joshua to restarting the conversation of who is the best heavyweight in the world. Francis re-injected himself into that. Who do you think is the best heavyweight? We got Jones and Stipe next month.
I'm from the other side of the tracks, by the way. I am not this happy guy for Francis. I am what we call a hater. So this is a terrible day for me that Francis did this. And you want to know what was so bad about it, Daniel? He's getting better. That double leg is without question the best double leg that he's ever shot. When he got in on Stipe, the corner? He got one hand on his back and one hand in on his leg. He didn't really know what he was doing. Right here, he's right underneath the butt cheeks. He's driving. He's pulling one way. He's redirecting his body. I'm watching that double leg going, you got better at wrestling while spending a year boxing. Yes. How? How does that happen?
Couture. It was Couture. Yeah. You could hear Couture on the commentary. You could hear him almost coaching him. And I swear, I've been in their gym before where Randy's working with wrestling with these guys, and you could hear Randy talking like he had helped Francis in that position. It was Couture. But yes, you're right. When he took Cyril Gane down, I was like, oh my God, if he's learning to wrestle, everybody's in trouble. But again, if he's a better mixed martial artist, Chael, then he's in the conversation for the best heavyweight in the world, because when he was just a striker, he was the best heavyweight in the world because he was the UFC champion. So when you look at these guys, you look at Jones, and you look at Miocic, and you look at Aspinall, and then you look at Francis, who do you have as your best heavyweight?
All right. I was so impressed with Francis, but I'm still a hater, and I'm still going to ride with it. I'm still going to ride with the fact that Problema was very unknown, and I don't think people can produce his first or last name right now. I'm going to ride with Alex Pereira. I believe. I believe. Our heavyweight champion that we're discussing right now has fought one time in 3 years. Our other heavyweight champion has fought one time in 4 years and only one time in the division. So for me to pick a guy that's only threatened to come to the division, it's not as crazy as you might think. And the reason I say Pereira, by the way, it's a matchup issue. I don't think those guys can strike with him. I don't think they're going to be Mr. Wrestlers and get him down. I think they got to strike with him, and I'm taking Pereira. You want to know who the best striker in the heavyweight division is? It's Alex Pereira. But I think the best striker would win the championship right now. Daniel, we've never had a time like this. We not only don't have an NCAA All-American in the top 10, we don't have an NCAA American signed to the organization.
Yeah.
We do not have one signed. We do not have an Olympian or world team aspirationalist that's even signed or under contract. It is the era of the striker. I know I'm going Pereira. I know I'm trying to make a little TV.
You're going crazy
kind of
with
an
Pereira
outside
lately.
shot, but I'm rolling. I'm standing with it.
You're going crazy with Pereira, by the way. You're going crazy with this. I mean, you told me a couple weeks ago you were having a hard time not being impressed. It has gone completely crazy. You know, they used to say this in wrestling. DC's going crazy. I mean, this guy's 20 pounds overweight. We got a match in a week. He's going crazy. He's lost his mind. You have lost your mind. Dude, that double leg Francis shot the other day, that might take Alex down because he's so big. He's so big. He's so big that Alex would struggle under him due to just the size in that aspect. So, and it makes me sound like
that is a monster of a man to have on top.
Yes.
You make a very fair point.
Yes.
If he got him to that position, the likelihood of getting up, I do agree with you. But
Yeah.
he did hit that beautiful double. He set that up perfect. I mean, I got to give him his due on a guy who's never had a singlet on, a guy that's never had a wrestling match. Not for nothing. These aren't all Americans. He didn't go take Ryan Bader down. I'm just sharing with you.
But the guy that he just beat put it on Ryan Bader in 30 seconds.
That's fair.
But he's not. I don't believe he's the best heavyweight. Not Francis. Not Pereira for sure. I think the best heavyweight is Tom Aspinall. Still, I still believe the best heavyweight.
I thought you were going to say Tom.
It's Tom Aspinall. You knew it?
Sure.
How'd you know?
I just felt like you were going to go Tom. I thought, you know, I didn't think your psychology would allow you to go with John.
No, I think John is, but I think that Aspinall I just think he's older now. I think he's 38. I think Aspinall's still young. He's fresh. And, you know, there is something to not having everything yet. When you have everything, it's hard, man. This guy, Tom, still doesn't have everything. Sure, he's headlined a couple pay-per-views, but he's not making 7 figures every time he walks in the octagon. He hasn't been making $1 million for 10 years like John Jones. He hasn't
not a
been
choice.
about 13 times. There's something to not having everything, and I believe that Jones right now has everything. And I know, and you know, because we've been in there with him, that there was a time that he could go through anything to stay the champion. Can he still do that, though? Like, if Tom Aspinall's on top of him, manages to get a takedown, or if Tom Aspinall's pressing him, can he dig as deep as he did against Alexander Gustafsson? Can he dig as deep as he did against Dominic Reyes to keep the belt whenever he was losing? I don't know, because it's been so long since he's been pressing that way. Tom Aspinall, sure, there are a lot of questions. But when you look at these dudes all on paper, I would favor Tom to beat Francis. I would favor Tom to beat Stipe. And I would favor Tom Aspinall to actually beat John Jones right now.
Sure. No, I hear you on all of that. And one of my great concerns, and it's a very fair point because we've seen so many other people do it. And you're talking about that tipping point with John Jones. Where can you get away with being at the club and still win? And then where does that go? Because you are a human being and we don't get better with time. I understand that, Daniel, but my one problem with that assessment, which I would love to be true, I'm also a hater in that direction. My problem with that assessment, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any weakness out of that son of a gun. I can't explain why he's so great. I can't explain why human nature doesn't affect him. I can't explain why he has sacrificed the least and dedicated the least for the absolute greatest result. I can just tell you that until I see a blemish there, I can't hold it against him. And by the way, one thing with Tom Aspinall that will bite him in the ass at some point, it might not cost him the match, but it will bite him in the ass, is when he finds a fight. Let me give you a stat on Tom that people use to support the claim that you just made about how great he is. He's only left the first round one time, and that was against Andrei Arlovski, a former world champion, who he stopped in the very next round. But Daniel, when you find yourself 18 minutes in, you got 270 pounds, you're carrying around, you're breathing harder, you got blood coming down from your eye for your first time ever. How do you respond in that moment? And it might be just fine, but if we're just guessing, if we're guessing that John's going to diminish, I can't just grant that to Tom, man. I got to see it. And one thing about that damn John Jones, and this pains me, man. It pains me to tell you these things about him. He's as tough as he is good. And not a lot of people know that. You and I found that out. But he's tough. He is not going to let up on himself. 25 minutes, however he found that cardio, considering he's not in there training and sacrificing, he's going to go for 25 minutes.
You know, I actually was at a football game with my son yesterday. The referee walks over to me and goes, "Hey, man, can I ask you a question?" This older black gentleman. "Can I ask you a question?" I go, "What's up, brother?" He goes, "Well, you and that John Jones, man. Well, you and John Jones was fighting, man. It was so fun to watch, man." And you know what I told him? I go, "Yeah, man." He goes, "Was he that good, man?" Because they all want to know, was he that good? I said, he was good, man. I said, let me tell you one thing. I said, he was very good. But what you're missing is how tough he is. I go, he was tough, man. Because I would bash him. Sometimes you just kind of go, I'm going to hit him as hard as I can. And you're close. And I'd grab him by the back of the head. And I would clinch him. Boom! And he would just kind of take the punch and he would keep fighting. It was almost impossible to deter him from coming forward and continuing to engage you in a fight, right? So it's like, that is where he is going to present problems for everybody. Because I don't think again, he has everything. He just bought a brand new house in New Mexico. He said, I think it was like $5 million. He said the house was somewhere. He's got everything. He's got everything. But I don't know. And again, I don't know. I haven't seen him in that situation. Like you said, Jail, he's fought once in 4 years, right? Yeah. Tom Aspinall has not been extended, and I don't know when he gets extended, right? You got to have people, Chill, to take you to that place. Do you see these guys taking Tom Aspinall to that place? I've been so impressed with the way that he has gone at everyone in the same way. He doesn't respect these guys. When he fought Sergey Pavlovich, who had knocked out 10 people in a row, and he was out of shape because he took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, he went right at him and knocked him out. When he fought Curtis Blades, and he was noticeably in better shape because he had a training camp, he went right after him, and he knocked him out. But he also has submission ability. He also has wrestling. And he's also as active on his feet as any guy in the division. I think for him, the fight that might be tough is Ciryl Gane, because Ciryl Gane can move with him. But I don't know if he's not the best heavyweight in the world. But Chael, John Jones and Stipe finally fight next month. After that fight, you and I both have spoken of John and Tom Aspinall fighting. That's the greatest fight we could make. But after that win last weekend, is it Jones and Ngannou? Is that the biggest heavyweight fight that the world of mixed martial arts could ever make right now?
I think we're going to calm down just a little bit. I mean, again, on Francis, and I must admit, that was a great double, and he set him up. And Francis had a little bit of a rope-a-dope. Like, he came to the ring kind of slow. He looked really confident, quite frankly. That's bad. That's a bad thing to be gone from this sport, taking on this younger up-and-comer, this an absolute monster, the same attribute that you get to bring, just that pure size. That's bad to not have that little bit of fear, and he was hiding it. Once that bell rang, he came out slow again. And then when it was time to move, boy, he started moving. He started reacting. My favorite part about the double leg was the setup where he crowded Problema, got Problema to flinch. That's when he came under him. But I'm only telling you that we're a little bit drunk on the recency of that. How big that win was. I mean, he took a guy down that's never had a wrestling match. He controlled a guy on the ground who doesn't have a black belt. I'm just sharing for you, like, it was an interesting position. He pulled out a tool we didn't know he had, and I do want to give him his due. However, I think in a couple of weeks it's going to blow over a little bit. And I do think that John Jones versus Stipe is going to tell us a lot. Stipe and Francis, whether people like it or not, are one apiece. In fact, if you want to go look at collected rounds, Stipe has won 5 rounds against Francis, and Francis has won 1 round against Stipe. I'm only sharing. MMA math does work to a degree. Let's see how John does with Stipe, because one guy that knows that's a hard fight, one guy that is not actually ducking Tom like the world believes, he's putting all of his focus on what's in front of him and not getting distracted, is John Jones. Mm-hmm. John knows Stipe, and again, partner, he's doing the math. He's looking at you. He's looking at Daniel, and he's saying, man, this is where Daniel had problems. This is what Daniel had a hard time getting to that leg and getting him down. He's doing that MMA math too, and John is right. He's got a massive problem standing across from him in November.
He does. You know what it sounds like? Hey, it sounds like on that conversation when you and John were walking through the airport and he needed help because he couldn't understand security. Y'all became friends. No, it sounds, chill. It sounds like next week you're going to be like, John Jones is my friend.
I am a hater.
No,
I am a hater, and I don't care if it's jealousy or if it's competitive, whatever. I'm a hater. But Daniel, I got to tell a story the way that it happened. And until I see a blemish from this guy, man, I got to tip my hat to him. I don't want to.
You have to. Yeah.
There's an honor. There's an honor and a code.
If
right?
you're telling, if you're doing this job in the right way, you respect what John Jones has done, and he's continued to do inside the octagon. For me, it's honestly Aspinall versus Jones, because you get the long reigning champion versus that young hot guy that everybody thinks is the next guy. But John said something on Saturday when Francis won. He gave him credit, but then a fan starts talking trash like they always do, and Jones can't help himself, right? He is who he is, Shale. He is who he is. He can kind of put his mask on a little bit and try to pretend, oh, I'm this great guy, I've made these changes, and then all of a sudden, it comes out. And the guy said, oh, yeah, Francis got to beat you, John. John's telling him, as he's been truthful, everybody's the man until they're in there with me. That's what he said. Because he can't help himself. Because he can't help letting them know, I'm still that dude. And that's like a thing that you respect as a competitor. But I think him and Aspinall would be the fight. The guy that everybody thinks can beat him. The guy that is big. The guy that's really a heavyweight in a new weight class that possesses all the skills to challenge him. Can he get through that again? That would be the biggest fight for me in heavyweight. I would love to see it. I would love to see Jones and Francis. I just think that Francis, even though he's learning to wrestle, there's still that hole that we saw when Miocic beat him, where if you can start taking him down, you can fatigue him if you make him grapple off his back for a long time. There's still that hole, and I think Jones would probably exploit that because he is tough, and he's also very smart inside the octagon. But ultimately, the UFC and PFL, Bellator, they won't cross-promote. It's competition, and but is it really competition? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it really competition? Like, the WWE and AEW has some sort of competition. The WCW, when they were there, was competition to the WWE. But when they left, Chael, it really did feel like the WWE didn't get as much out of their product as they were prior because they had a competitor. Conor McGregor spoke on this last weekend. He said, the UFC has no competitors. I felt like even though we were watching the biggest star outside of the UFC, it was never more clear to me that there really is no competition. Is it good that the UFC doesn't have a competitor that can really push?
Do you want to know what was an awesome thing about that show? I love the spacing of the PFL. I mean, somebody got their hand raised and the promo trailer for the next fight began. Like, they're playing the promo while they're still trying to clear the octagon. I really enjoyed that spacing. Brett Okamoto. That was the best part of that. Brett Okamoto conducted a post-fight interview, and you and I know how difficult that is. Sometimes you got an interpreter. Sometimes you got the mouthpiece. Some guy that wants to take your microphone away and go into business for himself. Sometimes he wants to give you yes, no answers. By the way, you got somebody in your earpiece saying, get this out of him, rap, one more question, turn to the right. Brett Okamoto killed that and even created for real moments where he was like genuinely just wanted to ask some questions, some of the emotional stuff that Francis was going through. So I got to tell you that because the location where this was is very important, which is Riyadh. One thing that, well, in fact, there's two things that the UFC and PFL have in common. They have a relationship with Riyadh. They have a relationship with ESPN. So if somebody really wanted to go in and make that fight and could convince Dana, look, you got John Jones for one more. He's not doing two. You got him for one more. I got Francis for one more. What do you think? Do you want to do this? Now, that, by the way, is not something Dana's just going to go for. Like, that's not some presentation that somebody else hasn't already made. I'm just sharing for you. If he wanted to make the fight, he could. And the reason he doesn't want to make it, he does not believe and see Francis in that light. Francis left our sport not for nothing. Francis left the organization not for nothing. He left a fight with John Jones on the table that was being offered and walked away from a contract. I mean, not for nothing. There's only so many ways you can make the world understand I don't want to face that man. He did those things. And so Dana wanted to move on and give those opportunities to the guy on the roster that are scratching and clawing like Tom Aspinall. That's who the boss is going to hand it to. And that's just the way his mind works.
Okay. Francis has a lot of opportunity because he left as the heavyweight champion of the world. So he left, but he had options. He left and he went and made a boatload of money boxing, and he's making a boatload of money on this deal that he's doing right now. So, but make no mistake about it, Chael. all other fighters who run out their contract, you aren't Francis Ngannou. You don't have the power that Francis has in regards to negotiations. Only the heavyweight champion of the world. And
only the heavyweight champion of the world.
He was one of one. Francis was one of one to be able to leave and have what he's had as a post-UFC career. So don't go getting crazy because there is no competition. If you want to make the most money, you fight in the UFC. You want to become the biggest star, you fight in the UFC. It's just the way it is. And I remember being in Strikeforce and, Chael, when we would fight on CBS, was it CBS? Yeah, it was CBS, right? We would all watch to see what the ratings were at the end of the night to hope that it did 2 million views. Then you felt real, right? Every other place, it feels like they're trying to find validation. Last weekend, PFL felt valid. But what about the next show? You know what I'm saying? That's the problem when you look at multiple organizations. Sometimes it feels like a real deal. When Strikeforce had Nick Diaz fight, it felt real. When Strikeforce had Fedor fight, it felt real. But then in the midst of that, you have all these other fights and they don't feel real. The UFC had a big jump on most organizations and the gap is only widening. Since they went to ESPN, it's gotten bigger. The production's bigger and better. The fighters are bigger and better. There are more ways to get inside the UFC. The UFC has now literally almost taken away, Chael, your path of getting those guys, right? Because now you got the Contender Series. If a guy seems like he's almost ready, they go to Contender. Usually those guys would go and fight somewhere else. It's like they're just continuing to widen the gap, man. And I really don't see how you can kind of slow it down.
You know, and Daniel, there's a presentation to it. Like all the fighters take all the credit. We all give it to them and we say that what it's all about. But it's really is so much in the production. Like when we look back at Pride, the general consensus was Pride had the better fighters and Pride was a better organization until they come over and one by one got stomped out by UFC guys. It turned out they didn't have better fighters, but boy, they could put on one elaborate show. And I only bring that to you like, it's a massive thing. I think ultimately that's why Vince won the Monday Night Wars. And if I could just tell you a great business story from my past. I was 11 years old when this happened, but there's a guy named Bill Gates that gave $7 billion to a company called Apple. It was ran by a man named Steve Jobs, but it was Microsoft's #1 competitor. In fact, it was their only competitor. And Apple is going out of business. And the CEO and founder of Microsoft is the one that kept them afloat. And he said why. He said, I did it because I need competition to make myself better. And he wasn't kidding. It was true. He actually lost that game. Apple has now surpassed Microsoft in share price. I tell you that whole story because one guy that would really like a fight, one guy that would really like competition, and here's the big secret, is Dana White. Dana White's looking for an opponent, man. He wants an opponent badly, but he can't just sign that bout agreement and step into the arena until he gives it to a rightful #1 contender. Dana's cheering. Dana's cheering that somebody comes after me and just say my name one time. You've seen it. I've seen it. I like that part about it, man. I like that. But to your point, is there that rightful #1 contender right now? No. That's just the truth. That's okay to say.
The one Strikeforce was the one that was the only one that had real contenders. And it showed, right? It showed in when the guys went to the UFC, they all won, right? From Strikeforce, Ronda became champ, Cyborg became champ,
DC
Luke became champ, I became champ, Woodley became champ, Robbie Lawler became champ. Like, that was the only true contender to the UFC. And it got to a point where at the end of the day, it still wasn't real enough, right? It wasn't real enough to sustain itself with that level of talent, Chael. Josh Barnett and Andrei Arlovsky and me and Fedor put us all in a tournament. And it still wasn't enough. Yep. The UFC has really just become such a machine that it's going to be hard to compete with it. And yes, Dana likes talking about the guy that's trying to catch him. But at this point, I don't think it's going to be possible to catch him. The gap is just too big. You know, competition breeds the best out of most. But competition can also make you come outside of yourself at times. Because when you see someone as a true challenge, sometimes you go too far trying to prove that they're either not good enough or that you're going to smash them. Sometimes they start to talk and they chirp and they yap at you. And you want to show them so badly that they cannot intimidate you in any way, shape, or form that you go too far. Max Holloway has been getting chirped at and nipped at by Ilia Topuria, Chill. Ilia seems to be bringing out a different side of Max. Like, do you see that? Do you feel that? And is that a good thing for the Blessed Express as he's on the verge of trying to become a 3-time champion?
Do we have somebody in Ilia Topuria who is just handling this naturally? This happens to be him. Or do we have a gamer here? Do we have somebody in Ilia Topuria who, for the first time in parts of the world, they're saying he could sell out a bull riding arena with 100,000 fans? And I'm just sharing for you, like, if anyone was most likely to do it, I would have thought it was Conor. But Spain has something different to say, man. The best and the best, all the way to their prime minister, has come out, and they're putting their stamp on this guy. They love him. America loves this guy. It turns out he's wildly handsome, and he can squabble pretty well. But do we have somebody that's a strategist that take a look at this vehicle and said, all right, we already have the baby face. There's nothing I can do in this short of amount of time to make the fans endear to me as much as they do Max. So I am now the heel. I mean, is that what's happening? Because Sean O'Malley, when he came the biggest draw, Israel Adesanya, when he had the mantle, Conor McGregor himself, they're playing that game, Daniel. They are looking at those ratings you're talking about. They are going to press conferences to keep track of who's getting the most questions. And I'm only asking, is Ilia Topuria just in the right place at the right time and everything's going to work out? Or is he a gamer? Because he has played this perfectly. You can't be mad at Max. There has never been an opponent that's mad at Max. There's never been an opponent, a media partner, a fan, a pundit that's been mad at Max, right? He's that guy. So Topuria says, I'm not even going to try. I'm going to go the other direction. I mean, he's putting venom out there. He said the only thing that matters about Max is the BMF belt, and he's not even putting it up for grabs. I mean, he is cutting scathing promos. Is he trying to convince himself? Is he trying to entertain us? Is he trying to get under Max's skin? I don't know Ilia well enough to know yet what exactly the plan is. I can just tell you he's doing everything right, and he's made this wonderful fight even more interesting.
You know what I like about Ilia Topuria? I don't think he's playing the game. I think he just tells the truth. I remember going into Anaheim to sit down and talk to him.
And DC, you've met him, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I walked into the room, and he's bringing all of his team, and they're all dressed in the same sweatsuit. I find that very interesting when the whole team is dressed alike, and it's nice. But this dude, right? Whereas Henry Cejudo, who's taking the style from Captain Eric Alvarez, and they're wearing like glitter, and they have like nice. Their sweatsuits are nice. Topuria and them are all wearing like Versace, Gucci. I mean, they're dressed to the nines. The entire staff, they walk in. Ilia sits with me. We have this great conversation. And in that conversation, he's telling me how he's going to do this to Volkanovski, and how he's going to do this to Volkanovski. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, well, I just saw Volkanovski beat everybody. I'm like, it's great to have confidence, but oh my God. Then he does it. He's not, I don't know if he's playing a game because I think that he's speaking his truth. But I will tell you this, because I spoke to Max Holloway Sunday, not last Sunday, but like a week ago, as he was getting ready to go out to Abu Dhabi. He's not mad at all. He's not mad at all. He is as normal as he's ever been going into a fight. Max has this pattern of calling me before fights. We always talk, but there will be a month will go by or 2 months, but every time before a fight, we have a conversation. I always see Jerome Holloway on my phone. This dude was as calm as he could be. He feels like the kid's trying to bug him. He feels like he can see that Ilia is trying to do that to him. But he felt normal, Chill. It did not feel like he was any more emotional than he's ever been. It did not feel like he was any more worked up than he's ever been. And I think it needs to be that way, because I truly do believe that this is the best fight that we have on the calendar. This is the most high level, most skilled between two combatants. I don't care who's fighting. I don't care that Bilal's fighting Shavkat. I don't care that John is fighting Stipe. Those guys, in terms of just pure mixed martial artists, they're not as good as Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. And Daniel, we could have a real argument on what's a bigger fight. This one Max is going into or his last one. Max left his weight class. How uncomfortable. Max is nothing but a main eventer. He gets pulled down to third from the top. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on you. Your next step when you're pulled from main event to third of the top is your walking papers. Like, this is very real when Max is going in there with Gaethje. it didn't seem to bother him at all. He didn't even seem to have an excitement for that belt that he won. It was not only the knockout of the night, Daniel. That thing is going to win. When we get to the World MMA Awards this year, it's going to win the fight of the year and possibly knockout of the year. I mean, that thing is going to be so recognized. It's hard to imagine where Max would feel the jitters on this. He's going to fight a little bit smaller guy. He's going to fight a little bit less dangerous guy who's knocked out a whole lot less people than Gaethje. Like, I'm just sharing for you. Max has been there and done that. He's such a young guy, and he's handsome and he's nice, but that is a skilled veteran right there. I mean, he fought Conor McGregor when he's only 20 years old, just to put that perspective for you. Like, he got a start early. Made his way to world championships, left the division. He's got a belt right now. People are acting like he doesn't have a belt. He's the sitting champion right now of the BMF.
He is a guy that we have seen grow up in front of us in the UFC, as with Topuria. But when you look at these two, and there are the back and forths, and they seem to dislike each other, if there were emotions, and we can't see him because Topuria looks as cool as the other side of the pillow, Max looks as cool as he always is. If there is underlying emotions, who would it affect negatively worse, Max Holloway or Ilia Topuria?
Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria. You were talking earlier, and you made such a great point. I wish you would have elaborated on it, but you were talking about Aspinall doesn't have everything. And what we mean by that is it's not a choice for Aspinall. He has to get up at 6 a.m. He's got to go put those miles in. He's got to chase these dreams. He's got to take all the media opportunities. You get a media opportunity, John Jones, and he won't even call you back, right? I mean, there's like things that you can't do where it becomes a choice, but Topuria is not in that spot. He's not as rich as Max. He's not as accomplished as Max, but he does have that big goose egg in the loss column. And that alone, you bring in that undefeated streak alone. I've seen more studs where they get beat just go, oh my God, it is such a relief. Now I can go out and compete. Like, there's something to it, Daniel. There's something
Ilya don't want that.
Man, there's a lot on it. And I'm just saying, Max Holloway wakes up on Sunday after this fight, the BMF champion. His next fight can be a title fight if he wants it to be. That is not true for Ilia Topuria. I mean, all the chips are in for Ilia because they've agreed to do it at title weight of 145 pounds. So it's just his belt. I mean, there's a lot on it. That pressure's being felt by Ilia Topuria because that's the one that needs it more.
Ilia also likes that zero. It feels good when you're undefeated. I don't care how many times people say, well, it's a relief to not have to worry about it anymore. That dude loves having that zero. Ilia also said, Chill, that he's going to point at the ground very first 10 seconds of the fight and try to draw Max into that. That would be a mistake by Max Holloway because, right, it feels like this fight is, if Ilia can knock him out, he's going to win. If Max can outpoint him and box him up like he normally does, he's going to win. Max can't take the bait. Max can't go out there and just throw leather with this dude in the first 10 seconds, especially with his power and how fresh he's going to be when the fights first start.
Ilia has also claimed, Daniel, that he can take Max down anytime he wants. Oh, and by the way, I will work towards a submission within 1 second of us hitting the ground. Now, I don't think of Ilia that way as like this ground ace, but he's telling me he is, and he hasn't lied to me about anything else. I mean, like, this is a guy that, much like Pereira, that comes out and they haven't been wrong yet. So all the things that we chalked up to dreaming or promotional talk, like maybe he is that good on the ground. I just haven't really seen it. Teddy Atlas was real big. He was telling me, he said that, and this was before Ilia Topuria beat Volkanovski. Prior to that fight, Teddy Atlas said, this is not only the best boxer in our sport, it's the best boxer MMA has ever had. He said, wait till you see his angles. Wait till you see him get inside. Wait till you see the power of the hook. He did all three of those things the night that he won the championship. I'm sitting back and go, wow, Teddy sure saw that early. And I only share that like that's how I think of Ilia Topuria, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should look back at with the Josh Emmett fight, just for example. Maybe I need to look back and see some other great works that he had. But he believes his strong point is outclassing Max in the grappling. I don't know that I buy that.
I've seen him do some tremendous things on the ground. I saw him submit Bryce Mitchell with an arm triangle, but he beat him up so bad to get him there that Bryce Mitchell literally was just probably like, I can't wait for this fight to get over. That'll be much more difficult to do against Max Holloway. Guys, on Thursday, Chael and I will dive deep in the UFC 308. I'll be in Abu Dhabi getting ready to watch the best fight. I think that Etihad Arena is one of the best arenas in the world. I love going there for fights. It's long travel, but it's fun when we get there. Chael, another great episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy, man. Thanks as always for doing it. Guys, Find us wherever you get your podcasts, ESPN, MMA, YouTube, ESPN+, ESPN2. We are everywhere. For the bad guy, Chael Sonnen, I'm the good guy, Daniel Cormier. Until next time, peace.
Smash or pass.